Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakodash, Brakati Yahweh, Brakati Yahushai. Double honors to the elder apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who rule well and teach well through the Spirit, and the mighty Shalom to the hopeful elect in the same Spirit, teaching His word and believing His word. Shalom to the Akbatiyam, believers in His faith and His truth. Lord willing that y'all continue in the same sound doctrine, in the same spirit, and Lord willing the Most have mercy on the other brothers and sisters that's not in the faith. The title of this lesson, as you can see, Matthew 22 is speaking of a spiritual garment. So Lord willing is edifying and is motivating, to those sheep to be in that garment, especially you men. That is the example of this ministry. So let's get into it. So this is Matthew, the 22nd chapter, starting at verse 11 and 12. Verse 11, probably the 13. Let me see. We'll just read verse 11 and 12. It says, "And when the king came to see the guests, he saw there a man which had not on a wedding garment. And he saith unto him, Friend, how camest thou in hither not having a wedding garment? And he was speechless." Now, this is a parable. A parable is an earthly story, but a heavenly matter. So this is not a literal garment. This is a spiritual parable. So this is a spiritual garment. This is a spiritual wedding. But of course, it's going to actually usher in and be physical when Yahushua returns. But this garment represents righteousness or being clothed in the spirit and doctrine of Yahushua, which Yahushua comes in the volume of the book. So Lord willing, we can get precepts to edify, the sheep, even myself. So again, this is not about literal clothing. It's spiritual attire. Now, something came to mind, which of course we know when we go into the law, so when you see Numbers 15:38, it says, "Speak unto the children of Israel and bid them that they make them fringes on the borders of their garments throughout their generation, that they put on upon the fringe of the borders ribbon of blue." Now, I want to see if this is going to be clear. And let me actually see on the phone. I will actually be able to click the word garment and look it up, and it would send me understanding on it, but then it would show me images. So you see clothes, cloth, raiment, apparel, robe, wardrobe. Now I see I can't do it on here. So we know that this is an ancient time. So what I'm going to do is, let me just look this up real quick. We're going to do this real quick, and then we're going to move back on to the point. So this is ancient garments. So when we see Numbers 1538, this is an ancient time, right? So this is a physical garment. So this is different than what this lesson is actually going into. This is a physical garment, physical ancient garments, right? Physical ancient garments, right? So now we see that. But when we go to Matthew 22, that is speaking of a spiritual garment. So let's go to Revelations, the 19th chapter, and let's read verse 7 to 8. We're just going to show the garment is a spiritual righteousness, right? The garment lines up with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, right? This Revelations, which we're getting understanding right now. This is Revelations 19, verse 7 to 8. Let us be glad and rejoice and give honor to him, for the marriage of the Lamb is come, and his wife hath made herself ready, which that wife is the 12 tribes of Israel. Ezekiel 37, which the southern and northern kingdom are not going to be two kingdoms. We're through the Spirit becoming one. And then Yahushua is going to physically bring us together, right? So his wife, the bride, have made herself ready. And to her was granted that she should be arrayed in fine linen, clean and white. For the fine linen is the righteousness of saints, which is the Israelites, right? I think Psalms 48:14, Psalms 50:5, right? So the wedding garment equals righteousness, not literal fabric, right? So these saints, right, is putting on righteousness, right? When we go to Daniel, it says, what is it? Daniel 12 and what is it? Daniel 12 and 10. Let's just make sure. Okay, Daniel 12 and 10. Many shall be purified and made white and tried, but the wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand, but the wise shall understand. Through the Spirit, right? How is it that they're going to be purified and made white and tried? This is not us having a garment on a glorified body and then being tried. No, we're getting purified now. The coming of these prophecies, the hour of temptation, Jacob's trouble, right? We're going to be tried in those times. But even in those times, we're going to be purified and made white. That's why even in the time of Jacob's trouble, the chosen is going to be known, right? So let's get Isaiah 61 and 10. So Isaiah 61 and 10. I will greatly rejoice in Yahweh. My soul shall be joyful in my power, for he have clothed me with the garments of salvation. This is not a physical garment. He have covered me with the robe of righteousness, as a bridegroom decketh himself with ornaments, and as a bride adoreth herself with her jewels. Right? This is symbolic, right? So he covered the men in a robe, and the women a robe of righteousness, as a bridegroom decketh himself with ornaments, and a bride adoreth herself with jewels, right? The garment represents salvation, what we just seen, salvation and righteousness, right? Salvation is that, what's salvation? To be delivered, right? What is righteousness? Let's look them up. We got time. We got some time to spare. So let's look up H3468. Right, salvation. safety, saving, deliverance, rescue, safety, welfare, victory, prosperity, right? Liberty. What's that? Freedom, right? And only who's gonna really truly get that salvation on this side? The elect. 866, 866, right? Just getting to the point of it. Righteousness, justice, right, righteous acts. Come on. So if they putting this on, the elect is going to have righteous acts, right? Righteousness in government, of judge, ruler, king, of law, the Davidic king, Messiah, Mashiach, righteousness of the Most High's attribute, righteousness in a case or cause, righteousness, truthfulness, righteousness as ethically right, righteousness as a vindicated or justification in salvation. Wait, we know we get justification through faith, right? The righteous shall live by faith, right? But again, it all goes into wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, right? Because you're supposed to have understanding and righteousness. We're supposed to have understanding on salvation, right? Because yes, we get righteousness by fulfilling the law, by establishing the law, but you even have righteousness having faith in Yahweh Shai, right? Romans, the 13th chapter, verse 14. But put ye on Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai Hamashiach, and make not provision for the flesh to fulfill the lust thereof. It said, put ye on Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai Hamashiach. Hey, through the Spirit, I did a lesson the other day, right? Because it's so-called 3 a.m. I did a lesson the other day on we need to put on the spirit of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, right? We need to put on. So lucky. Put ye on Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai Hamashiach. Put on is being spiritually clothed with Yahweh Shai's character and teachings. Come on, right? And even when Yahweh Shai go up to the right hand, the right side of the Father, right? The apostles is giving us the characteristic or teachings of Yahweh Shai, especially when it comes to obedience, discipline, right? To even to stay in the course, finish the course. You know, this is Ephesians 4:24, but we can start up at 22. It says that ye put off concerning the former conversation the old man, which is corrupt according to deceitful lust, and be renewed in the spirit of your mind, right? So to have that garment on, right, we have to be renewed, right? Let alone we understand that none of us can put that garment on unless Yahweh Bashem Shai is dealing with us. And that ye put on the new man, which after the Most High is created in righteousness and true holiness, right? So again, this new man is created with righteousness and true holiness. So that's what that garment consists of, a new man. To have that garment for that wedding, right? The Lord is creating in you righteousness, true holiness, right? Salvation, right? The new man is a spiritual garment you wear by walking in truth. Hey, strive in the truth. Sirach 4:28, strive for the truth until death, and the Most High shall fight for you, right? Going to Colossians, the 3rd chapter, and we're going to read verse 12. This Colossians chapter 3, verse 12. It says, "Put on therefore as the elect of the Most High, holy and beloved, bowels of mercy, kindness, humbleness of mind, meekness, long suffering, forbearing one another, forgiving one another. If any man have a quarrel against any, even as Hamashiach forgave you, so also do ye. And above all these things put on charity, which is the bond of perfectness." Right? This is a part of that garment, right? This is part of that garment. Again, putting on these qualities, which is spiritual clothing, right? Mercy, kindness, humbleness of mind, meekness, long suffering, right? Forbearing one another, forgiving one another, right? If any man have a quarrel against any, even as Hamashiach forgave you, so also ye do. But above all, have charity, right? And hey, you got multiple examples of charity. One charity is what the men of the Lord do on the highways and byways, what brothers is doing on a YouTube channel, constantly feeding the sheep, right? Taking a lot of brothers is taking a lot of time from their family just to feed the sheep. And guess what? This makes your marriage last long, right? Because a real woman gonna understand Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai come before. Then after doing those things, then you as a man, you're not dealing with what this world portrays and push the nagging and always coming and putting and pleasing a woman first. Most men that's of this faith, I mean, I'm saying most because all men is not trying to get the benefit on this side. Most men haven't really had the benefit of being pampered, right? Us men, we pamper women to a level where you go into a restaurant, you hold in the door, you open up the car door, right? A man gets all his bread and take it and give it to the woman. Not every woman in the faith is having her own business, making her own garden, building her own house, or within the house, right? We all really, those that truly believe through the Spirit, you're going to be living a simple life on this side. We're gonna truly have that benefit if we're of that elect and get beamed up. That's the main goal. All that other stuff is just what you add on this side. This is Zephaniah chapter 1, verse 7 to 8. It says, "Hold thy peace at thy presence of Yahweh Shemar Shai power, for the day of Yahweh is at hand." Right? The day of the Lord is like, you have to always look at it as he can be coming tomorrow, next week, next month, let alone looking at the signs of the time. People are choosing pleasure, right? Being lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of Yahweh Bashim Al Shai. A lot of Jake is putting more time in things on this side, trying to get 6 figures, right? Instead of making those spiritual 6 figures, right? A lot of people not fearing the Lord, right? For Yahweh have prepared a sacrifice and he have bid his guests, right? So you have that righteous wedding where he's bidding the guests, which is the elect. And then you have the what I'm calling it the after party. Why after? Because those are the people that's left after on earth that's going to be destroyed. Right? First talking to you Israelites, right? Because we know majority of Jake don't got no damn bunkers, right? In places on the outskirt of the outside of the United States, right? Yeah, those is rich folks, but it's going to be a bucket load of people from all nations, especially you Israelites, that's a part of this guest, right? The after party. It says, "And it shall come to pass in the day of Yahweh's sacrifice that I will punish the princes, the king's children, and all such as are clothed with strange apparel." This strange apparel is not the spiritual garment we're reading in Matthew, the 22nd chapter, right? That strange apparel is false doctrine, unclean works, hypocrisy, right? right? False doctrine. So again, the wedding garment of Matthew 22 is symbolic of being spiritually prepared, clothed in righteousness, and walking in the spirit of Yahweh Shai. Those without it are cast out because they are not truly part of the elect. They look like they belong outwardly, but lacked inward righteousness. Right? Hold on. That made me think of Romans, the second chapter, verse 29. Right? They lack the inward righteousness. This is Romans 2 and 29. But he is a Jew which is one inwardly, and the circumcision is that of the heart, in the spirit, and not in the letter, whose praise is not of men, but of the Most High. Right? To be an Israelite is to be one inwardly. You know, oh, I'm a spiritual Israelite. And if you say you're a spiritual Israelite, you're still basically saying bloodline, descendant. But spiritually is because you're inwardly an Israelite, right? Which is spiritually, you know, yes, by nationality, but in the spirit, right? Let's get to Galatians, the 5th chapter, verse 16. Because again, we want to walk in the spirit of Yahweh Shai. And when Yahweh Shai was here in the flesh, he had to battle the things of the flesh, you know, just like what we do, where he overcame the world. That's the whole point. He overcame. We're going to overcome, lo, when we are of the elect, but it's not going to be the same way as Yahweh Shai, who is perfect. Galatians 5 and 16 and 17. This I say then, walk in the spirit. What is this? This is walk in the spirit of Yahweh Shai, right? Ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. We don't have that power to do it in this body, to fully overcome the flesh. You got the plague of the mind, right? We're gonna keep slipping, right? It says, for the flesh lusteth against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh. And these are contrary to one to the other, so that ye cannot do the things that ye would. Right? Where was the flesh is resisting the spirit resisting the flesh. Yahweh Shai was battling with this too. He still didn't get complacent, slack. When we read about Yahweh Shai, it skips from when we see that he was born, he was 12, and then get to when he was a grown man, right? So we didn't really get to see him from a young child all the way to 12, from 12 to 18, right? Dealing with things that men deal with, dealing with things that Israelites deal with, right? But we seen a glimpse of each time period where he was filled with that Rakah Kodash, with that spirit of Yahweh, which he was moving in accordance, moving in one accord with the Father. So, right, walking in the spirit is denying your carnal impulse and desires. Yahweh Shai did that, right? He finished it. And this is why Yahweh Shai is the example, right? Let's go back to Romans 8. Let's read Romans 8 and 1. It says, there is therefore now no condemnations to them which are in Hamashiach Yahushai, who walk not after the flesh, but after the spirit. People want to use this word so much. What is the spirit? The spirit is going to have you searching the deep things. The spirit is going to have you have conversations where you're going to start to realize that, well, we know what a lot of Jakes say. I know his name is Yahweh Shai, but everybody don't know it. I used to be in that shoe, but when you start growing in the spirit, you want the sheep to ask questions, so you start teaching. Hey, eventually they do, or they might just get it. But when you start using the name, you save a chance for a sheep to say, hey, you're not saying Jesus or Lord. or the Most High. So as you come in, as you saying another God, then you get to break this down. This is what all this studying is about. The Spirit of the Lord is going to study to prove thyself. The Spirit of the Lord is going to have you read. The Spirit of the Lord is going to have you be at peace with all men. The Spirit of the Lord is going to have you wait. You know, you're going to have spiritual discernment, right? Those truly in Yahweh Shai live differently, walking after the Spirit and living in obedience to Yahweh through Yahweh Shai. Because it said, there is therefore now no condemnation to them which are in Hamashiach Yahweh Shai. What? That's St. John 15. If ye abide in me, I abide in you. Right? Let's get 1 Peter's 2:21. 1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 21. For even hereunto ye are called, because Hamashiach also suffered for us, leaving us an example. What was the example? Him, how he walked. You know, like when you're a baby, like my babies, my younger daughters, they'll see my shoe and put their feet in my shoe and walk in my shoe, right? We're trying to walk in Yahweh Shai's footstep because he's the example that ye should know. I mean, that ye should follow his steps. When you play the Michael, it just came to mind. When you play the Wii and you play the Michael Jackson game, you using his example on the screen on what move to do, and you're imitating it, right? Just like Paul said. So to walk in the Spirit is basically you following Yahweh Shai's footsteps. When it snow, the snow too high, you too short. So that person that's behind and the person that in front is leading the way to make it easier for the people behind to walk in the footsteps so they can have an easier walk through the snow. And that's what Yahweh Shai has done for us while being on the earth. And I'm not going to lie. The more I talk about the Lord, I'm thinking about doing a lesson. Those things help me from my mind drifting away. It helps me to keep Yahweh B'Shem Shai on my lips, And it shouldn't just only be like on the Shabbat, like today is the Shabbat, right? It shouldn't just only be on the moon. This is a life or death thing, So this is 1 John 2:6. He that saith, Salaki, he that saith he abideth in him, ought himself also so to walk, even as he walked. I've been bringing this out through a couple lessons, right? We must live like Yahweh Shai, humble, obedient, righteous, and charitable, right? The biggest charitable thing Yahweh Shai did is lay down his life for us, which Yahweh Shai laid down his life for the nation, but he did it truly for his friends that are going to benefit and actually be at that wedding with the proper attire. Come on, man. Let's get Galatians, the 5th chapter. Verse 22 to 23. It says, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law. And they that are Hamashiachs have crucified the flesh with the affections and lust, right? So if you are of Hamashiach, guess what? You're walking in the fruit of the Spirit, which is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance, right? And of course, right, you crucified the flesh with the affections of lust, right? So these are the characteristics you develop When you walk in Yahushai's spirit, when you walk in his footsteps, right? You want Hamashiach to lead. Because guess what? We ain't good at leading ourselves. Even when we following the ways of the teachers, like if I'm following Apostle Bob through the spirit of doing, I got time to do more than 3 videos out the week. Guess what? I'm following his footsteps because I can see he can do more than 3 videos out the week. If I have time to be able to, I should be pushing way more than 3 videos in 1 week. This is St. John 6:63. It is the spirit that quickeneth, the flesh profiteth nothing, which quickeneth is to make alive, right? The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life, right? Yahushai words equals spirit. So to walk in the spirit, you must walk in the word. What is the word? The book. The word is Yahushai, right? I think it's Revelations 19. Yahushai is that mighty word, right? Again, if it just said, it basically, we must walk in the word, you must walk in Yahushai, right? The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. And why is it spirit? Because these are divine words from the heaven. Yahushai was given his blueprint on what to do in the heavens with the Father. So what he's saying ain't no joke. St. John 12:48 down. Yahushua was commanded to give us this information, to manifest the Father, to manifest what we should do, to manifest what the Father like, to manifest what the Father don't like, right? That's why, what did Yahushua say? When he come, is it going to be faith in the earth? Is you going to have faith, right? What's a form of having faith is trusting in the Lord. How do we trust in the Lord, right? The Lord have given us this word. The Lord still have given us the prophets, right? Somebody got to give us sense. Romans 10:14 to 18, right? So we must walk in the word. What is the word? Yahushai. So we must walk in Yahushai. Now, I just got to get this again, even though we brought it up already. Romans 3:14. Because again, we got to walk in the spirit of Yahushai. This is Romans 3:14. Salaki. I guess I got a little too excited and forgot that one. Romans 13:14. And it reads, but put ye on Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai HaMashiach, and make not provision of the flesh to fulfill the lust thereof, right? To put on, goes into that spiritual garment. Put on Yahushai, that spiritual garment, right? That spiritual attire. This matches with the garment in Matthew 22:11, right? Let's go to Colossians 3. Colossians 3:9. Lie not one to another, seeing that ye have put off the old man with these deeds, and have put on the new man, which is renewed in knowledge after the image of him that created him. So this wisdom and knowledge that's renewing us, it is the image of Yahushai that created us, that created the heavens and the earth. Yo, this is checkmate right here. So a lot of people are not in the reflection of Yahushai, because if they was, they would be saying his name. They would believe in his name, right? If they was coming a reflection of Yahushai, you will understand Yahushai was only coming down to correct and guide the children of Israel. It wouldn't make sense that he jumped in the New Testament. Now he's for all nation. When we look at law, statutes, and commandments, which sacrifice-wise, Yahushua is the example of the sacrifice. What nation made a sacrifice to the Lord as a whole? Psalms 50 and 5, it only said the saints made a sacrifice unto the Lord, which are the Israelites, right? So walking in the spirit, being renewed, transformed in the mind and actions. That's why Romans 12 and 2. And I'm going to read it in the NLT because we want the Lord to change our mind, right? In the KJV, it says, be not conformed to this world, right? Don't copy the behaviors of this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of the Most High. Let's hurry up and get it in the NLT real quick. In the NLT, it says, don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let the Most High transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know the Most High will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect, right? If Yahushua is the husband of the nation of Israel, a wife should be the reflection of her husband. So Yahweh is transforming us into a new person by changing how we think, to making us think like Yahushua. Yahushua wanted to be obedient and follow the commands of his father. And he wanted to be his father's will and not his will, right? Let's get St. John, the 15th chapter, in verse 4 and 5. So this is St. John 15, verse 4 and 5. Abide in me and I in you, as the branch cannot bear fruit of itself, except it abide in the vine. The vine is Yahushua. No more can ye, except ye abide in me, right? No more, right? We can't bear any fruit if we do not abide, remain in Yahushua. It says, I am the vine, ye are the branches. He that abideth in me, and I in him, the same bringeth forth much fruit. For without me, ye can do nothing, right? Because Yahushua is the complete example of being obedient. Yahushua is the example of overcoming this dumbass world, right? So us walking in Yahushua, when we abide, we live in him through faith, obedience, and discipline. Wisdom of Solomon 6, it tells you love, discipline, right? Yahushua is the best example of discipline and obedience and faith. Faith. Yo, Abraham had faith, willing to give up his son. That man left his own family from a lane he know to a lane he did not know. He got up and just, I'm about to go. Matthew, right? Peter and his brother, the sons of Zebedee, they got up. And a lot of them was making money off of those fishes. And they got up and went to go follow Yahushua, right? So again, how to walk in the spirit of Yahushua is us putting on that garment in Matthew 22. Because these are the things that's going to help us benefit on this side to be able to make ourselves worthy so we can get beamed up. Denying the flesh in sinful habits, right? Romans 8 and 13, keeping the Lord's commandments, keeping his laws, the commandments, laws, and statutes. We even got Revelations, 14 and 12. Here's the patience of the saints that keep the commandments and the faith of Hamashiach Yahushua. But you got St. John 14, 15. Bear spiritual fruit. Galatians 5:22, verse 23 that we read. Enduring suffering and trials with patience, right? We didn't get set up in this earth to just have it smooth. Yes, yo, some of us don't got the funds to do this and do that. You got to help brothers out. The brothers dealing with this. Our funds is not the same, but guess what? All of this is going to burn. The Lord is watching, and just because I brought that up, I was plagued. when a brother going through something and I couldn't lend him some bread because I'm trying to reserve it because I got certain things I gotta pay. I gotta get bread here and do this, and it's like, dang, I gotta. But I know I'm about to get this. I know I'm about to go get me something to drink. Then it's like, and I just was plagued at work and thinking on it. But that was the Lord having me think, because then that made me think of Acts the 5th chapter in the beginning, where Ananias and his wife, they were lying through. They was lying to the Spirit. And the Lord, hey, yo, why you letting Satan lie, right? And guess what? He went right in the spirit world. So I went right in my wallet and I helped that brother out, with the what I can give. And guess what? That plague in the mind left me again. To walk like Yahweh Shai, it can save you from that burning. And I ain't talking about Usher, right? For those that know, right? This is Acts, the 5th chapter. And I start at verse 1. It says, but a certain man named Ananias with Sapphira, his wife, sold a possession and kept back part of the price. His wife also being privy to it, she was known to it, and brought a certain part and laid it at the apostles' feet. And Peter said, Ananias, why have Satan filled thy heart to lie to the Rakah Kodash and to keep back part of the price of the land while it remained? Was it not thy own? And after it was sold, was it not in thy own power? Why hast thou conceived this thing in thy heart? Thou hast not lied unto men, but unto the Most High. Yo, the spirit of Yahweh Shai, how we want to walk like Yahweh Shai, we're not going to lie. We're not going to be deceiving to the spirit of the Lord, right? Because another brother can have a spirit on them. You could be deceiving and lying. You could be doing it every time. Think of Yahweh Shai, right? So endure suffering and trials with patience. The Lord know we suffer. He know that we need this, we need that. But the more we seek him, the Lord be making plays like audibles, right? So we got to stay humble, meek, and obedient to Yahweh, right? Philippians chapter 2, verse 5 to 8. It says, let this mind be in you, which was also in Hamashiach Yahushai. So let this mind be in you, which was also in our big brother Yahushai Hamashiach, who being in the form of God, thought it not robbery to be equal with the Most High, but made himself of no reputation and looked upon him the form of a servant. We are servants. I'm not greater than Yahweh. We're servants, baby. It was made in the likeness of men, and being found in the fashion as a man, he humbled himself and became obedient unto death, even the death of the cross. Right? Like the apostle said, we're not, you shouldn't be afraid of dying. Because you see, when we grew in this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, that we know we go to the Father. But why? You got a chance to live. You got a chance to put on Yahweh Shai. Oh, remember that. Put on Yahweh Shai. Put on Yahweh Shai. What you doing today? Putting on Yahweh Shai. And don't, like HOI, they say, don't say it if you don't mean it. When they say HOI to the chariots fly. But don't say it if you don't mean it. When you're not putting a pep in your step, when you say, I'm going to put on Yahweh Shai, you got to say Yahweh Ratazah. I can continue to put on Yahweh Shai, that the Lord will pour onto me that same spirit, right? You can keep going, but, we want you, to get it while you can. Make sure you understand what was actually said. I want to give all praises, glory, honor to the one true power, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash, Brakati Yahweh, Brakati Yahushai. Double honors to the elder apostles and the elders of great millstone who rule well and teach well through the spirit. A mighty shalom to the whole for light in the same spirit. Shalom to Akim, believers in this truth and this faith. Lord willing that you all continue to endure and be sincere in the same spirit. And Lord willing to most have mercy on the other brothers and sisters not in the faith. Shalom. Shalom. Abab. Abab.